Hello everyone, just a kind of a different video. I thought I'd make the most of the nice weather and sit outside. The seat I'm sat on is a bit like a rocking egg chair. I don't know if you heard of it, but the only issue with this, because up there you get the odd spider come down, and I could be talking mid-video and a spider lands on my head. Could you imagine that? There's only a spider like that and I'm all bloody hell. So if the video ends abruptly, then that's probably why. Because that's taken a little while to get under that one, the fear of spiders. Although I'm much better than what I was, but yeah, still gets me now and then. If I got a big one, especially this sort of time of year, going to September in the UK, you still got spiders walking in. But anyway, this is an OCD video. This is not a spider OCD video. So I just wanted to talk off the cuff, really, a bit about my journey, a couple of things that I did. So this is not a planned video, and I think they're quite good because I just talk and then just go off on a tangent, and just go off and relate to different things along the journey. But really, I wanted to talk about sort of feeling alone along the journey, and that's not just at the start. Obviously, at the start of the journey, it feels very, very alone. But also, quite an interesting one is when you become more rational in your beliefs, and you can feel quite alone in society. Of course, within the OCD community, we're learning to shift our beliefs and have a more rational outlook on life. But when you're in just a society that is very irrational, you can sort of see how your beliefs and your perspectives are different. Okay, but you've got to remember the reason that I've changed my beliefs is because of the OCD suffering that I've had. So OCD is a very strict teacher, sort of keeping me in line. And if I held really irrational, rigid demands, black and white thinking, catastrophic, awfulising thinking, then OCD would latch. It gives that sort of breeding ground for OCD to really get in there if I held that really rigid demands and, like I said, black and white irrational thinking. So yeah, so let me talk about a bit at the start of my journey and how alone I felt. Now, obviously suffering with the taboo-like themes such as POCD, harm OCD, real event, false memory OCD, it's caught in the past, many guilt-related themes, I just felt totally alone. Now the reason I felt so isolated is because just talking to someone, so even just talking to someone with OCD, I felt so locked up in that cycle. I know it's amazing to have that, to be lucky to have that ability to talk to someone with OCD who may understand you, but especially talking to someone who doesn't have it, I just felt like I couldn't talk about it at all. Some of the thoughts it was latching on with, some of the thoughts it was chucking in at really unwanted times, sort of the real events of false memory it was latching to, I was absolutely terrified, absolutely petrified it was real, and I felt like I couldn't possibly talk about it. But then, talking about that now, I then went down the confession route, so I confessed absolutely everything. But the reason I did that was because of the overwhelming relief that I got when I originally confessed. But then OCD would just continue moving the goalpost, continue scanning for something else, and then before you know it, the confession cycle, you're locked in it. You just feel like anything you need to get off your chest. You can't possibly sit with an uncomfortable feeling. You feel like, all right, got to confess that, got to confess this, got to confess that. I can't possibly, because OCD is scanning for something and it finds something very quick. Even just any thought that comes in, I'd be kept confessing the thought. Any urge I had, I'd be confessing that. So I just went completely overboard with confession, and it was completely dead end. It got me nowhere, because I just spent evenings and hours and days and times on holiday just confessing, asking reassurance. I remember talking about it a lot with my partner, but we'd go out on date nights and it would just be endless confession all evening long, and she'd come home absolutely exhausted. I'm just in an emotional state, sort of crying and panicking, and she might not understand me, she might not understand what I've confessed about, so just that endless confession cycle. But yeah, so that's how alone that felt. Obviously feeling like no one else understands you, just feeling like you can't relate to anyone. You're thinking, how can other people not be getting intrusive thoughts? How can people not be riddled with chronic guilt with something in the past? Or how can people just not feel anxious all the time? It does feel very, very alone. So yeah, I'm sure there's loads and loads of moments when I felt alone. When else did I? When I go to sporting events, when you're in quite a hostile, quite an intense, volatile atmosphere, with people getting quite angry, quite aggressive, and then you're just there caught up in your own head, suffering with intrusive thoughts, caught up about something in the past, and you're thinking, bloody hell, like, if only they knew this, only if they knew that, if only they knew what was going on in my brain, how I was feeling. So yeah, I remember feeling very, very alone, especially with moments that people are enjoying as well. So not just hostile atmospheres, but also like when people were in football, for example, and we've just won a game or we've just scored a goal and everyone's going crazy, and I'm just there pretending to go crazy, but there I'm not actually with it. So physically I'm there, but mentally I'm miles away. So I've just got to sort of put on that brave face and pretend that I'm enjoying the moment, but really I'm just caught up in a guilt cycle, caught up in a intense chronic guilt, shame, depression, low mood, anxiety. So yeah, that felt very alone that way. I felt very alone at birthdays and Christmas, when everyone was sort of getting together, having big family events, you know, big moments, and sort of going, oh, this is amazing, oh, we should do this more often. And I'm there going, yeah, it's brilliant, but bloody hell, I'm thinking, oh, I'm just full of dread. I just can't wait to run out of the room and cry or go to bed. I just can't wait to get out of that. I'm just looking for any bit of relief. So yeah, I felt very alone in those kind of moments. I remember going to school, going to college, like socialising. When I first went to college, we'd all go out and socialise. Work, when I first started working at 18, and like socialising, going out to social events. And I would go, but I just felt like I just can't enjoy it. I just felt like nothing else mattered. I just felt so undeserving. Felt like I should be punished forever. It all just felt like, what's the point? Okay, and I felt so alone in those moments. Alright, so I think that's enough about alone, before I go round in circles. You remember, I'm just talking off the cuff here, so I hope you can relate to this a lot more. And something else I wanted to touch on is when you're having a real good time, meaning you're feeling better and you're getting better from OCD, and then you get hit with a setback, you get hit with a relapse. Now, in that moment, that can feel completely real. I remember looking back now, there's times where I felt like there was no progress at all. So I sort of like kidded myself, and lying to myself that, no, you didn't make any progress. No, you're worse as you once was, or you're even worse, you're back to square one, or you're even before square one, now you're worse than when you first come on the journey. All these things that happen with setbacks and relapses. Okay, so the key point to remember, it's going to feel as utterly real. It's going to, usually it might latch to a new theme. So something that you probably had broken down or you haven't thought of yet. So she's going to go, right, if I get in on that, that's going to completely terrify me. So in it would go, and then it'd feel like, oh shit, here we go again. This is worse than the last time. I want my old themes back. I want my old fears back. Oh no, I can't do this all again. I was doing so well, and here we are back to square one. All these things that we go down. So we've got to remember, when we are triggered and when we do have that setback, we're looking for that instant relief. Okay, we've got to let that play out. Okay, we can't suddenly compulsively start reading the books again. We can't compulsively dispute. We can't compulsively go and ask for reassurance or confess. Okay, because I know how gripping that feels and how intense that can suddenly feel all at once, especially when you've been doing well. Okay, so I see triggers and setbacks as sort of a learning opportunity. So, okay, I must be a bit rusty on the tools there, might need a bit of maintenance work, but the key point there is I'm not doing that straight away. I'm not doing that for that instant rid of a feeling, that instant relief. Okay, there's a big difference there. So, okay, look, I've been triggered. I'm going to let that play out. I'm not going to engage in that. I'm not going to start forming loads of compulsions and get rid of that unwanted discomfort. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let it play out and then work on my beliefs later down the line, okay, if it continues to latch. Because sometimes it would latch and then I just let it play out and then maybe a couple of days later it would subside. Okay, so we've got to remember that it's going to feel utterly convincing. It's going to feel real as it can possibly get. It's going to feel more real than the last time. You're going to feel like the exception again. You're going to feel like yours is real, yours is different. Okay, key points to remember. Now, I don't want to go this video to go on too long, and I also want to relax in this egg chair before a spider falls on my face. Hasn't happened yet. I don't think there's no spider webs up there, so I should be okay. Making the last bit of the summer, September now, so it'll soon be the cold, dark nights before we know it. So the last thing I want to touch on in this brief video is how I used to neutralise the thought. Okay, so I generally used to shout out things. So if I had a really unwanted thought, an unwanted time, let's say during intimacy or just walking down the street, I had a really unwanted thought, or I might have walked past someone and had a really unwanted thought at that moment, and I generally shout out stuff. Or let's say a name would get stuck, and I shout out something completely random, completely opposite, and sort of take my attention away from that thought. So I was neutralising it, I was trying to get rid of it by shouting something completely random and nothing to do with the thought. Okay, but that was just a massive compulsion of mine, because before I knew it, I'd be shouting all the time, really loud and getting quite aggressive. Oh, why did that thought come in there? Oh, bloody hell. And then just shouting something completely random. I remember one time I used to shout song lyrics, because I know that was I could stay safe, I could stay in the comfort then. So I'd have a really unwanted thought, let's say at the gym, and I'd start randomly singing song lyrics out loud. I mean, people must have thought I was crazy, but that was because I felt safe and I felt like I'd get rid of the anxiety that way. If I just randomly shout out a song lyric, randomly start singing a song, not loud enough for like the whole gym to hear, but just sort of briefly, quick 5 seconds, like da 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 da, and then that would be my way of getting rid of the thought. And then 5 seconds later, boom, straight in again. So because that's compulsive cycle, that neutralizing thought isn't going to work there. Okay, I have to let that thought come in at a really unwanted time, let it do its worst. Okay, me running away from it, me looking for an escape, me looking for that instant quick fix, did the opposite. Okay, because OCD knew I was scared, then it would up the heat, ramp it up, and then boom, have some of that. Okay, so that's what it's going to do. All right, shouting out random song lyrics, random names. I'm shouting out random names just to try and get away with the thought. Random celebrities, I'd shout out, just trying to do anything I could to get rid of the thought. Okay, got me nowhere, dead end, trap. All right, so you've got to let OCD take over, let it do its worst there, and not try and neutralise the thought. It's a very key point to remember. Anyway, before any spiders fall on me, and before it randomly starts raining, I'm going to put up this video now. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please leave a like, much appreciated. If you are suffering with some of the stuff that I'm saying, if you can relate to a lot, please email phil@ocdrecovery.com, and we can help get back to you in a timely fashion. And you are not alone, you're really not alone. Okay, I understand, I've been in your shoes, I understand how relentless it can feel, how trapped it can feel like there's no way out, feel like nothing else matters, feels like what's the point, I fully get that. Okay, but there is really much hope out there. I wouldn't be making this video today if there wasn't any hope, so I hope that's enough hope for you. But anyway, you take care, have a lovely rest of the day, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Anyway, bye bye.